Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer Dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
So will you please join me in saying the verse of the robe? Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. So welcome again, everybody. It's great to be here. And I'd like to firstly thank and acknowledge Joel for taking this seat for the last 3 weeks. So it's much appreciated, Joel. As I was sitting, a statement of Sing San came into my mind, which I shared at a recent retreat, and he was talking to one of his students, and he said, craziness is good. Crazy people are happy, free, and they have no hindrance. But since you have many attachment, you are only a little crazy. This is not crazy enough. You must become completely crazy, then you will understand. And that came into my mind because I was going to read a Beatles song to you. But I've been having a little rehearsal today and to sing it to you, and it hasn't gone well. But this statement came up, and I thought, you don't have many chances to sing in inquiry. So I'm going to sing the first verse of In My Life by the Beatles from the Rubber Soul album, which came out in December 1965. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. All these places have their moments. With lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead, and some are living. In my life I've loved them all. So I remember being curiously drawn to this song when I was only 15 years old, and I was perhaps too young to have places to remember all my life. But if I think about that time now, I can remember things about the self I thought I was, and the places and people in this present moment, from the perspective of the self I think I am now. I imagine you too may be doing something like that now. I imagine that we're like kaleidoscopes. If we could see inside all of us now, we would see images of all the people and places that we have been in our lives swirling about inside us, some coming to the fore, some receding. But we are made of all of these images of people and places. Kodo Sawaki Roshi said, start each day with an everlasting now and an always here. This limitless moment is a new fact of living in the present. The past, when you consider it in the present, is a new past. In her wonderful book, A Light in the Mind, Carolyn Atkinson says, "Here's a tender story." She describes how she went to hear the writer Pico Iyer offer a talk at the Capitola Book Club in Santa Cruz. She says, I invite you to imagine yourself a member of this crowd. Isn't this a beautiful and skilled invitation to bring the reader into the event? She describes the joy she felt in the activity of meeting friends and appreciating Pico Iyer. He was charming and we loved him, she says. We sat admiringly and looked at a self we could all appreciate. Then she describes moving from the light and warm activity of the post-talk conversations to leaving and looking back into the cafe. I turn around and look back from the darkness into the brightly lit book cafe, and I see energy and talking and movement and lights and life. Then I turn again into the darkness. Here's the darkness, I think to myself. It's really so poignant, all of us having gathered here, being ourselves, waiting to feel connected, to be seen, to be recognized, to be understood. Then we turn and we go into the darkness. We go home, we go to bed, and the self we have constellated, isn't that exquisite? The self we have constellated, whether audience or author or all of us together, this self shimmers for a while, and then it gradually melts down a bit, gradually dissolves again. The self we create over and over, no matter who we are, the self shines for a time, and then, after shimmering, there's this drifting down into silence. There is nothing we can hold on to, nothing lasts. And this is the tenderness of membership of the human family. And most recently, we experienced the tenderness of membership of the human family when Flint visited us to lead our retreat earlier this month. We were blessed that he was able to be with us, and aware of some of the many challenges he and Erin are meeting at this time, we weren't sure if he would be able to make it. It was only when he was actually on the flight from Chicago to London that we knew we would actually see him the next day. After collecting him from Taunton railway station, we were so fortunate to have 3 days with him in a treehouse ensconced in a wood to prepare for the retreat and Jukai ceremony. Each day was particularly precious, as we were very aware that he might have to return home at any time. Then we started the retreat, and on the first evening, these are some of the reflections Flint shared with us. What is the real spirit of practice? No matter what I have taught you, what you have read or understood about Buddhism or Zen practice, I'm always attentive to the spirit of practice, which is hard to describe or point to exactly, but I can sense it in myself when it is present, and I can sense it in you when it is simple and authentic, a wordless recognition or a perception of the energy of wakefulness being expressed in the most ordinary ways. And he shares this piece from Katagiri Roshi. In Buddhism, we say that everything is the lively energy of life. When that universal energy touches down at the intersection of time and space, it temporarily appears as form, the form of a human being, the form of a tree, a bird, or a pebble. And from Flint, is it possible that the ongoing, unending, embodied, loving energy of grief is what lives in the space between our stories and our lives? Is this where we discover the life light, the animating energy of the universe, Buddha's nature, truth, freedom? And the last quote was from Suzuki Roshi, which was very appropriate for our retreat, which was We were serenaded by loud spring birdsong throughout the 5 days. Suzuki Roshi said, "I don't know anything about consciousness. I just try to teach my students how to hear the birds sing." So then on the second day of the retreat, it became clear to Flint and to everyone that he would have to leave early to make the long journey home to be with Erin. We rearranged the timing of the Jukai ceremony, and after preparing and leading it so beautifully, Flint was suddenly gone. Before leaving, he said to me, "It will be hard not to meet." This is something we sometimes say because the name of our Sangha comes from the final meeting between Dongshan and his teacher Yunyan. As Dongshan was preparing to leave his training temple and go forth on his own, his teacher Yunyan said to him, "After your departure, it will be hard to meet again." Dongshan replied, "It will be hard not to meet." Then Dongshan asked Yunyan, "Later on, if I'm asked to describe your teachings, what should I tell people?" Yunyan looked at him for some time before replying, "Just this is it. Just this is it. The great matter is now in your hands. You must be most thoroughgoing." And in those days following Flint's departure, he continued to send us teachings during his journey, which truly incorporated into our 2 Dharma talks. I imagine you have a felt sense of your own experience of "it will be hard not to meet." John Berger, the writer, artist, and art critic, deepens this experience for me when he writes about struggling to paint a portrait of Begina, a Russian friend. He says, "When she had gone, I took the least bad drawing and started working on it again. Suddenly, like a weather vane swinging round because the wind has changed, the portrait began to look like something. Her likeness was now in my head, and all I had to do was draw it out, not look for it." Then he describes how, from time to time during the next day, he went to look at it and felt elated. This feeling came from the face appearing as if out of the dark. It came from the fact that Begina's face had made a present of what it could leave behind of itself. Isn't that beautiful? It had made a present of what it could leave behind of itself. In another writing entitled "A Cloth Over the Mirror," Berger, exploring the history of self-portraiture, wonders how Rembrandt created his wonderful late self-portraits. He says, "I believe he used a mirror only at the beginning of each canvas. Then at a certain moment he covered the mirror so he no longer had to adjust his gaze to his gaze, and then he continued to paint only from what had been left behind inside him. Only from what had been left behind inside him. Freed from the double bind, he was sustained by a vague hope, an intuition, that it would be others who would look at him with a compassion that he could not allow himself." So just as John Berger suggests that Rembrandt continued to paint only from what had been left behind inside him, and for him Begina's face had made a present of what it could leave behind of itself, we live and practice with what our teachers and loved ones leave behind in us, and the present of the faces they leave behind of themselves. Kodo Sawaki Roshi again said, "Though there are radio waves, without a radio we can't receive them. Even if we have a radio, if the wave frequency is not in harmony with the radio, we won't be able to hear it." So there's something here about an attunement which we are invited to develop in order to be receptive to all of the offerings of this world. We tune to receive. And Spencer Cousins said of the wonderful singer and guitarist John Martin that he tuned his strings to yearning. He tuned his strings to yearning. So there's tuning to receive, and there's tuning to express, perhaps a complete practice. I wonder, I'm going to tell you a little story. I think I've told this recently to a group, but maybe not you. It's from my childhood as a dreamy boy, and when I was a child in school, if I was looking at a teacher drawing on the blackboard and I was particularly drawn to him or her, I would become absorbed in how they were expressing themselves drawing on the blackboard. Maybe the way the light caught a teacher's hair, and the way she moved, and I would forget the content of what I was supposed to be studying. So I would be absorbed in this person, and when she would turn around and say, "Okay, you all know what you're doing," I didn't know what we were doing, but I could probably draw her or write a poem about her or him, so I do have a tendency when I'm listening to a talk to sense the feel of what is being said, being enacted, probably more than what is being communicated in words, although I have got more balanced in that. So while I read the final meeting between Dongshan and Yunyan again, I'm wondering what patterns of attention you notice in yourself. When you listen to a talk, are you focusing on meaning? Are you focusing on the presence of the speaker? Are you the colors of the room? You're really listening to your own talk much of the time and we are from our habits of attention. So for me, this meeting between Dongshan and Yunyan is very cinematic. I see it in color. I'm probably more interested in the relationship between them than actually what just this means, although I'm not disinterested in it. So how's this for you? As Dongshan was preparing to leave his training temple and go forth in his own, his teacher Yunyan said to him, "After your departure, it will be hard to meet again." Dongshan replied, "It will be hard not to meet." Then Dongshan asked Yunyan, "Later on, if I'm asked to describe your teachings, what should I tell people?" Yunyan looked at him for some time before replying, "Just this is it. The great matter is now in your hands. You must be most thoroughgoing." So I wonder whether you, as you turn towards yourself, whether you notice what your habit energy is in terms of listening, hearing, seeing. I'm going to finish with two more quotes by Kodo Sawaki Roshi. I was looking through a book of his today and I was really going, wow, I was really drawn to some of these, so I want to share them with you. So this is really appropriate for this evening, this afternoon, today. So he says, "I'm always scolding myself. Scolding may sound strange. Eku henshu in Japanese, to direct the light back to illuming the source from which it comes. As long as I keep an eye on myself, I'll be okay." Isn't that great? As long as I keep an eye on myself, I'll be okay. Then he goes on to say, Eku henshu means you are shown who you are. You are sitting quietly and observing. You are watching yourself as if you're watching a movie. As you watch yourself, you will understand shoujo, ordinary people or sentient beings. You will understand that you are none other than a deluded ordinary being. You will understand that you are none other and a deluded ordinary being. So, if you'd like to meet one deluded ordinary being to another, I would so welcome that, and to meet you and to explore any of the themes of my talk or anything you would like to explore. Thank you. Hi, Cassie.
Okay.
Hi. You're settled.
I was pressing the audio button, but evidently not in the way that it accepted.
Yeah, it's accepted you now.
It's accepted me now. But the opportunity to be one deluded human being beside another just seemed too exciting to pass.
Yeah, two crazy human beings together.
Yeah. And then the things that I was going to say just flipped right out of there because it moved into the joy of that.
Yeah.
So I guess what was coming up for me during the last bit of the talk was my inquiry into my anxiousness, and that I will not step into that arena very often. And I was just like, oh, I'm not anxious because I'm not stepping into the anxiousness. Not that the anxiousness isn't ever present.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think that many people would, I don't know if people would describe me as anxious. I don't think I project it often. But that could totally be my delusion. So if I don't know if I'm looking for permission, I might be looking for permission, but I want to step out of the comfort zone more often than I do. And I notice even in saying that all kinds of protectors come up.
Yeah. Sure. But, just by being here and saying what you've said, you've already stepped out of a comfort zone. So it's already in the room,
Yeah.
How does that feel to have shared that?
Playful.
Good. Yeah. So there's a way you've kind of found a way to invite it to play a little bit.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Why don't you come out like, oh, yeah, okay.
So, as a child, my parents moved every 2 years, so I was constantly making new friends and in a new location. And I would canvass the neighborhood door to door and just knock and say, "Do you have kids? Can they, go to the next house? Do you have kids? Do you have kids?"
So looking for what were you looking for there, do you think?
It might have been motivated by the fear of, only child living alone in a new place, in the desperation of not having playmates. And the idea that they were in the neighborhood. I just had to go find them. Even though now my neighborhood is extended to England.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So I'm really touched how you, and with your courage to go and knock on doors and say, who's in there,
Yeah.
Do you want to play?
Uh-huh.
And I kind of, I've always sensed a playfulness in you. I feel like we're playing a little bit now, like
Yeah.
buddies, and
Right.
yeah,
And
yes,
announcing a play and announcing or touch, internally touching and externally expressing that practice edge.
yes, yeah,
Um, the our Monday night class is doing Vimalakirti right now, and I'm just loving it.
mm,
Um, and one of the things that Vimalakirti kind of did was he brought the practice edge to others. Not necessarily that they were ready for that practice edge.
yes,
And there seems to be a really big difference in that. I'm really kind of looking at the
mm,
idea of bringing the practice edge or waiting until it comes forward.
mm, mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah. There's a kind of interesting dynamic, isn't it? Do you wait, or
yeah.
do you go for it? Do you titrate it a little bit?
Mm,
Try it out. Um, it's something about, you know, there's something about the courage that you have, which I really appreciate. You know, the kind of what I was saying at the beginning from Sing Song, that little bit of craziness that, sometimes gets us over the line a little bit.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and I as we play, I see your anxiety, you know, I can see it, and it's here with us, between us, and
It's okay.
it's okay. It's okay. I see it. I see you.
Mm. I'm holding, like, I can see, like, if we were in person, you would see how I'm doing all of this stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's showing up in my hands, I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Um,
So I guess maybe your hands are kind of where you're expressing the sort of the edge. Does that
yeah.
feel? Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. That's uh
Because it's in there moving.
it's sorry.
Because it's in there moving.
In them yeah, it's part of the piece.
Part of the piece.
But if it's sort of like if you've allowed something to move in, then the hands are maybe offering some safety around, I've got a grip on this.
Yeah. Control it. Yeah. It's so much about, yeah. I was going to bring up control earlier, but yeah, that's spot on.
Mm.
And there is an allowing of something else in.
Yeah,
There really is.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's kind of maybe it's that titrating. It's like, okay, but I'm going to need to just hold my hands here, and but I love the way you showed them. You didn't. It's like it's
yeah.
like showing you
Yeah.
the full piece. And here are
Please.
the
Yeah.
hands kind of holding on a little bit, and you know here we are and we're playing.
Thank you, Josh. I
Yeah,
love playing with you.
I love playing with you too. Oh, thank you, Cassie.
Thank you, Josh.
Hi, Eileen. Hi.
Hi, Josh. I think I've come to play too.
Oh, great.
Um, I really appreciated your comment. Thank you for your teaching. I appreciated the comment, Sing Song's comment about craziness. Um, I came to the practice a little over 10 years ago and had the great pleasure of getting to spend 1 year with Appamada before we moved to Madison. And in that first year, I attended a retreat where we were asked to write something. And so this was my first year. And that writing was brought to my attention yesterday, this 10-year-old writing. And I was reading the end of it yesterday and remembering how constricted I felt at the time, maybe even ashamed because I didn't know anything. And I wanted to just share the last 3 lines of it because the question was, how is Buddhism where you come from? And the last 3 lines I said, Buddhism is where I come from because my first and best impulse from my earliest memories was to serve and give comfort to others. And it's where I come from because the expression of kindness and compassion touches the deepest place in me. But the last line is, I come from Buddhism because there is space to be lost and crazy, and I am. And that, I mean, it was almost a shameful admission in a way, but it was very freeing to say it. And now I reflect upon reading it yesterday and realizing that there was a much greater wisdom than I knew at the time, and to have the space to be lost and crazy. That Buddhism, that everything is included, it's all invited.
Absolutely.
I get to come and play with you. I get to be lost and crazy, and I get to come and play with you today. And it's okay.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And, you know, we're playing as deluded beings. We can still have fun, deep, deep fun. But, you know, what you're describing is something very beautiful, because it feels like looking at it again yesterday and then hearing that piece from Sing Son. It feels like it's part of a piece that has sort of moved through you.
And it also is part of a part.
Yeah.
Say what you're saying, and I'm so grateful for our community, for this, for your offering, for our practice.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll stop with that.
Oh, well, it's really lovely to see you again. I haven't met you for a couple of years, so thank you so much
And for you,
inspiration. Thank
and
you.
lovely to be with you too, and your presence, your calming presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Jill.
Hello. So I'm feeling a bit nervous.
Take your time.
So I've got a practice question.
Okay.
I think I was really like my ears pricked up when you said something about craziness being acceptable or something, and I'm feeling a bit crazy. So that, so far, so good. And I was thinking about Trudy's words at the retreat when she said, we don't know how this is really going to affect, and I think Flint, and I think you said it too, that kind of sense of what are we doing as we sit there all that time, and then we go back to our lives. And coming back into life's been quite hard. I feel quite cracked open. And I guess I really spoke from there on Monday, and it did feel right at the time. And I felt such a kind of backlash of vulnerability since then. So I felt like, so I think my question is something about how I feel quite cracked open and brokenhearted, and it's like how, I guess my normal thing would be, well, I know what to do. I'll just get myself back together again. And yeah, so that's...
That would be your normal thing, would be to kind of regroup and, yeah. And what's your fear? At this vulnerable time, what do you think what are you worried about?
Well, I think it's about function and it's still just being with that edge of unacceptability, even though I know there is something really precious with this level of vulnerability. It's just like, so I'm really keen. Mary said something, lovely Mary said something about it is my relationship, with telling about. So, any words?
Okay.
And I loved your singing.
That felt vulnerable too,
Yeah, I really, I had thought I would email you or Trudy to see you, and then I thought, well, actually, I could just speak to him tonight at inquiry,
Oh, Monday was a beautiful sharing, deep sharing, and sometimes after a time like that, it does leave you be feeling vulnerable. It's because you're offering so much from your deep heart, and you've come back from the retreat, and it's an odd thing to say, but the gift of the retreat is where you are now.
Yeah, I really believe that. I really understand, but I don't know quite what to do other than this.
And you will know how to function with the things you need to do. There's a way I trust you will know how to take care of yourself. And at the same time allow whatever's bubbling up from the earth in terms of whatever it is springing up, just to allow it to have its course. Yeah. I mean, you've really, really practiced really so sincerely. And I think Flint once said, first this practice will make you, he described it as miserable, but then it'll make everything possible. It's like you're really embodying what I think everybody in this group is feeling, but in a very particular way. You're showing it's really okay to come forward and be this, and avow that this is how it is. And I know you will take care of yourself, and the Sangha will also support you all the time. And if you think of those, the talk, part of that, having that relationship with, most of the time in life we're managing absence, we're alone. But there's all these people inside us who you know from your long life and from recent practice, who are there for you, who are thinking of you and holding you all the time. So you're just really showing what one aspect of practice looks like. I'm so touched by your beautiful courage to come forward.
Thank you.
Keep in touch.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Lynn.
I'm just so touched by everybody, by you, Josh, and your offering the spirit of the practice. And I just wanted to share something that happened to me today, which kind of feels like it really fits with what we've been talking about. I went, Peter and I went for a walk on Grange Promenade, which we haven't been for a little while. And as we were coming off the promenade, and I was going towards the car, Peter called me back and he said, come back. And I came back, and there sitting underneath this arch in the shade was my cousin, who I haven't seen for years and years and years. And we look quite alike. So it was a bit like seeing myself sitting there. And it just so fitted with always with you, always in you, you know. And we had a moment or two, a little while, talking about, you know, you look like your mother. Well, you look like your mother. Our mothers were sisters. And I felt as if I re-met myself in some way. You know, the self that you were talking about, all of those selves that you kind of like this misty version of yourself, and then it disappears. And it was just extraordinary. It was extraordinary, and it was an extraordinary, like the universe sometimes offers you something that you're not expecting at all, and it just also seemed, you know, I've been very aware of the fact that I haven't been on retreat with everybody, but I've been sitting with everybody, and everybody's been sitting with me, and it's the same with, you know, as I look at all of the people here on screen, you know, and you're all in here too, and it's just yeah, it's really touching, and it's really beautiful.
It's amazing, isn't it, that you see someone who you've held deeply in your heart just for a few moments in that brief time, and something just opens up.
It's like something explodes inside you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Lynn. And I love Grange Promenade.
Well, you were there too.
I was. Oh, that's a beautiful way to end our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all.
So, will you join with me, please, in saying the 4 practice principles? Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here this evening and offering yourselves to this beautiful group. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And thank you, Nellie, for making the space possible. Thank you.